Anya Taylor-Joy plays Beth Harmon in the Netflix miniseries, The Queen's Gambit. I'm at Noble at Gold Derby. And I want to ask you, Anya, if Beth was a chess piece, which chess piece do you think she would be?
She was the White Queen.
The obviously. White Queen. Yeah. Do you want to unpack that a bit for us?
Actually, it was one of my favorite things about, so the costume designer, Gabrielle, and I worked so closely together. We became really, really good friends, but she was very respectful and kind about how connected I felt to the character. And so when we were coming up with an idea of what we wanted her to look like at the very end, and she had the concept of creating the silhouette of the White Queen, like just having a nod to it that people would be able to kind of recognize, but not essentially dressing up in a giant chess costume, because that's not great. I loved that so much. And I do think that kind of solidified that for me. I think she's probably a knight for the majority of the show. And then at the end, she's the White Queen.
Ah, is that who you would be if you were a chess piece too, Anya? The White Queen or the Knight or something else?
Oh, I don't know. I think I'd like to. I grew up riding horses, so I probably want to be a knight. That was the first thing that attracted me actually to chess in general. I always looked at the board and thought, this looks really, really beautiful. And as a kid, I would play out like fantasy scenarios with the pieces. I didn't know how to play, but I'd kind of like create my own little kingdom. So yeah, probably a knight.
I like that. What really drew you into this role and this character?
It was, sorry, give me 1 second. Oh no, okay. I was working on two things at the same time when I was told that Scott Frank wanted to meet with me on a project that didn't have a script, but that it was based on a book. And I was a big fan of Scott's writing. And I just thought, okay, how am I going to manage to do this and be able to have a conversation with this man? I'm just going to sit down and try and get through as much of the book as I can. And just from the moment I opened it, I was devoured by this story and I was devoured by this character. You know, from the second I met her in literary form, I had no skin between myself and this person. I loved her so deeply, and I really felt like I could tell the story right, which for me is a huge thing as an actor, because I really do believe that even if you love something, if you know inherently that you're not the right person to tell that story, it is your moral obligation to let the role go and find its rightful host, I guess. And I knew how to play Beth from the moment I read her in the book. I was ready to do it, like immediately. And actually what was difficult was I had to film two things prior. And so it was keeping Beth at bay more than trying to find the character. I was like, oh, I'll get to you, I promise. I have to complete the other two first.
What did you find the biggest challenge in playing Beth?
I think exactly that. I've never had such little skin between myself and a character before. I've always, I approach acting from a place of empathy, because I find it easier to love and care about other people than necessarily put myself in that situation. I try and eradicate myself and fully form another individual. And with Beth, I knew that in order to tell the story right, I had to give her a lot of myself. And so the lines were so blurred. And that means just if she was having a bad day, I was having a bad day. And it was difficult to rationalize those emotions and go, this is wonderful from the acting perspective. I have to just accept that I'm going to feel really bad today and nothing is wrong in my world. But I'm just going to sit in this today.
Yeah. You talk about empathy and how important that is for you and how you approach performances. What do you relate the most to? How do you relate the most to Beth? How do you sort of empathize with her and connect with that character?
I think the first thing that struck me was her inherent loneliness. That's something that I've just had forever. Like since I was a kid, I've just always felt so other. And, you know, I used to tell my mom when I was little, I'd just say, I feel like I'm separated from people by like a sheet of glass. And then in my second movie, they actually put me in a glass box, and I was like, yeah, I'm here. This is like an actual representation of the way that I've always felt. But yeah, I think that was one of the first things that I read and just felt the twinge of recognition of, that hurts, but it hurts because it's honest, and I can, I can relate to that. But then also, just her ability to self-destruct. I loved it being a story about somebody whose greatest adversary was themselves, especially as a woman in the 60s. You kind of assume that it's going to be a movie about her, or a show, sorry, about her railing against people and trying to get them to take her seriously. And in reality, it's just, she's very, very good at something. And the other thing she's very, very good at is destroying herself. Like, it's the two of them together. And I've definitely battled against that in my life. And through that character, actually, I learned how to be kinder to myself. So I'm always really grateful to Beth for that, because again, I'm better at other people than myself. And so I could look at Beth and be like, you're being too hard on yourself. You have to loosen up. And then kind of sit back and go, this is very meta, but Anya, you should probably take that advice for yourself. That doesn't make me sound crazy, essentially.
Yeah, no, it's good. And like, it's interesting because she's a character who is lonely and who is like very much an outsider character. She doesn't like neatly fit into any molds, but at the same time, through her, you get to see a real sort of beauty in being the outsider, and how her difference is what draws people in to her life and her journey. What do you think about sort of being an outsider? Where's the power in being an outsider? Which I imagine for like is one thing for a chess prodigy, but also for an actress is also something where you want to be different and find things that are new and not follow rules.
You know what's fascinating about that is I have spent pretty much all of my young adult life apologizing for my differences and trying to fit into boxes that would make other people comfortable, and feeling a real sense of deficiency for not being able to give a straight answer when someone asked me where I came from, or for not being able to explain why my accent is such a bizarre mishmash of everything, and is consistently evolving. And then I'd say in probably about the last year, that thought first came into my mind of, wait a second, maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe it's okay to, if you can find comfort in yourself, and if you can kind of own who you are and not necessarily apologize for it, there's a genuine power there, because then nobody can tell you that you're deficient. And every human being is inherently not deficient. Every human being is unique and interesting. And I think we have an obsession with trying to categorize things because it makes us feel like we have a sense of control over something. But there's beauty in not being able to be categorized. And there's beauty in allowing yourself to show every shade of gray that every human being is, or turquoise, or whatever your favorite color is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's very dull being like everyone else. Like the striving to just be the same as everyone else is a bit dull and boring.
Well, I understand it because it's a sense of comfort and it's a sense of community. Human beings are, inherently pack animals. We want to be accepted by the collective. But one of my favorite, or one of the most moving things about this show is I really loved Beth, and I hoped that other people would love her too, but I kind of allowed it to be. Like, I remember when the show ended, the writer, creator, producer, everything of it, Scott Frank, came up to me and he just said, this is the first thing that I'm so happy with what we've done that I genuinely don't care if anyone sees it. I do not care. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of everybody's work, and I love what we've made so much that we're good with this. And I think seeing how people have embraced Beth, who is not inherently likable, maybe, that was really wonderful to experience. It's really like it was kind of life affirming for me a little bit.
The thing is, she is a very independent character, but at the same time, we see this sort of community grow around her by the final episode. I've said to a couple other people I've spoken to that you sort of like, you're so focused on Beth the whole time, and then the final episode, you realize how much of an ensemble piece it is because of all these people who entered her world. Yeah. What was that like, that part of the sort of thing where you sort of see how this Beth character can impact others?
Well, I mean, to be super corny and bring up a chess metaphor, it really is, you need every piece on the board. And our casting director and Scott did such an incredible job in filling out this cast with so many beautiful, talented, incredibly truthful, and like searingly honest actors who, you know, created these characters and brought them to life. As a performer, it was so wonderful to get all of these new playmates every day, because they just, you know, it inherently changes the energy in the room, and it brings something out in the character that's new. And so that's really fun as an actor. But I do think that it has a kind of larger comment to make, which is sometimes when you're so wrapped up in that loneliness, you can't really see any further than your own nose. And if you zoom out a little bit, you actually realize that there is a safety net of people that care about you and are there for you and are reaching out. You just have to be able to reach back. And that also ties into addiction, because a lot of the time when you are hooked on something or relying on something to make your life bearable at that moment in time, you cannot actually see far enough to reach back out.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite scene from the show?
Oh, selfishly, just as like performance wise, because it made me so happy. Speed chess was so much fun. It was so much fun. I should say, like, some big emotional scene, and there are plenty of those scenes that have an incredibly special part in my heart. But getting to play speed chess with Thomas Brady Sangster we just had a ball. We had such a good time.
Well, your speed chess partner also got an Emmy nomination, which is so exciting. So the Emmy voters must have loved, the Emmy voters must have loved that too. Those seats.
We're very similar actors, and we just had such a good time together, like a really, really good time.
That's good. And we at Gold Derby are an awards website. We love covering the awards. We love, hopefully that it generates discussion about what makes good art, good storytelling. You've got an Emmy nomination for The Queen's Gambit. It did very well across the board with nominations, and you've already won a couple of awards for the show as well. What has that experience been like for you? What has this sort of awards recognition meant?
Oh, goodness. It's been incredible, because I don't, and this isn't to sound ungrateful in any way, I just don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. And so I kind of wake up right before, in this day and age, I get in front of the camera and I go into the Zoom room, and then all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, this is a lot, and this is really exciting. But I think having the opportunity to talk to so many artists that I admire so much, and to kind of have that sharing of love, that's meant a lot. That's really, really wonderful. Because also it gives you an opportunity to tell somebody else how much their work has meant to you. So it's really wonderful to meet people and get to kind of share that.
Is there a particular like work or performance or something that has meant a lot to you growing up, or that just connected to you?
Oh, I mean, too many to count.
Yeah,
it's absolutely. But I was just on a panel with my friend Papa Asedu, and his performance in I May Destroy You was so beautiful. I had to keep pausing it to text him and just going, Papa, you're breaking my heart. Like, you're so, so good in this. And the thrill of watching somebody that you care about do really good work is unparalleled for me. I feel very, very lucky to have many talented friends that I get to cheer on.
Yeah. Do you with awards and stuff, do you write down what you're going to say before you do, or do you just see what happens?
No, and my team really wishes I would.
Yeah.
they're constantly like, you should probably write something down. And I'm like, that's too stressful. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna wing it. Which probably explains why I look so Bambi on ice whenever I get an award.
Yeah. The great thing for you this year is you are in such good company in your category and in these miniseries categories. I guess the flip side of the coin is these are, like, you could argue this year the mini limited series categories are the most competitive categories at the Emmys this year. So it's very exciting for us award watchers to see how they all pan out this year. We're very pumped. What you talked about the speed chest before, was that the most sort of fun thing for you to film, or were there other sort of moments?
Oh, so much of it was fun. I really enjoy whenever Beth is flexing her kind of sardonic sense of humor, but also is completely unflinching and being semi-cruel. Like, I really enjoyed dressing up as Mrs. Wheatley to receive Mr. Wheatley back in the house. That was really fun. And I think playing Beth in general was really interesting for me, because whilst we're incredibly similar in a lot of ways, one of the things that we differ on is I was raised to be almost unbearingly polite, and I am consistently aware of everybody else around me and how I can make their experience better, or, you know, just how I can facilitate things for other people. And Beth just doesn't have it. Like, there's no spark that goes off in her brain that goes, if I were to speak now, that would probably make everybody a bit more comfortable. But I'm not, like, she just doesn't even think about it. She's completely in her own lane, and not selfish necessarily, just was not born with the same kind of societal cues of what makes other people feel more comfortable. And I loved being in that energy. It was very, very cool.
I think something with your performances, and it's not just the one in this series, but it is definitely relevant here, is often when you sort of pick up the most is sometimes, or the most powerful moments, when you don't have dialogue, when you're not saying anything. What is it for you to, like, inhabit those moments, and how sort of conscious are you of what you're having to do?
I feel so lucky that my education in my profession came from working, because it just meant that I, you know, from the moment I did my first film, I haven't really taken longer than like 2 weeks off since, unless I'm like promoting something. I've just consistently been at work, consistently learning and hopefully bettering myself. And one of the things that I feel very lucky in is, from the moment I did my first movie, the camera was this close to my face and I was not speaking. So I had to learn how to communicate. Like, there was no moment where, I think maybe only in my 3rd year of acting did I realize how often the camera was very, very close to my face, and how that wasn't necessarily always the case on like other jobs or whatever. I was just like, they really like to stick this thing like within that, you know, an inch of my nose. So yeah, I think I had to learn how to do it out of necessity, because it's like, especially you think about my first movie, Thomason does not speak very much. And how are you going to care about somebody, and how are you going to care about the climax of that movie if you don't feel like you've been allowed in? And so my whole approach to acting, other than empathy, is just have the right thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, just logically be thinking what the character would be thinking. And then you have to trust that the audience is receptive enough to pick up on that.
Yeah. If you were to summarize your experience with Queen's Gambit in one word, what one word would you use?
Oh, goodness. Cohesion, maybe.
Love it.
Just everybody was making the same show, and that is rare. It is rare.
Anya, thank you so much for talking to us today. I hope there were some new questions there, because I know you do quite a few of these. And all the best of luck for the upcoming Emmy Awards. I hope you do really well. And people watching this can go to Gold Derby, where they can make their own predictions. Thanks so much, Anya.
Thank you, love. Bye.